Sterling Point arrives as another glossy young adult summer drama, but beneath its beautiful lakeside setting and familiar coming-of-age formula is a story that cares much more about family, grief, and finding where you truly belong. Instead of relying only on romance or mystery, the series builds its emotional strength through the relationships between its characters, making it one of Prime Video's more heartfelt recent dramas. The story follows 17-year-old Annie, an ambitious teenager from New York whose carefully planned future falls apart after she is rejected from a prestigious summer business program. Already struggling with the recent death of a grandfather she never had the chance to know, Annie's life changes again when she and her twin brother Connor unexpectedly inherit a private island on Ontario's Lake Muskoka. Hoping to uncover long-hidden family secrets and learn more about her late mother, Annie makes the impulsive decision to travel north, only to discover that the summer ahead will change far more than she expected. What immediately sets Sterling Point apart from many similar shows is that its emotional core is not built around romance. Instead, the strongest relationship develops between Annie and Ramona, the young woman who is already living on the island. Their connection begins with uncertainty and awkwardness before gradually growing into something much deeper. Watching two young women slowly become sisters while dealing with grief, unanswered questions, and painful family history gives the series its most memorable moments. The show deserves credit for allowing those relationships to develop naturally instead of rushing emotional breakthroughs. Annie and Ramona do not instantly trust each other, and their growing bond feels earned through shared experiences rather than dramatic speeches. That patience gives many of the season's quieter scenes far more emotional impact than some of its bigger twists. Romance is still part of the story, with a familiar love triangle adding extra tension throughout the summer. However, those relationships never overshadow the central story about identity and family. In fact, the romantic storyline is probably the weakest part of the series. One of the potential love interests never develops much personality beyond being attractive, making the emotional conflict feel less compelling than it could have been. The performances help elevate the material. Ella Rubin gives Annie an energetic and believable performance, capturing both her determination and the vulnerability hidden beneath her carefully controlled personality. Amelie Hoferl is equally impressive as Ramona, bringing emotional depth to a character who gradually becomes more complex as the season unfolds. Together, they create a believable relationship that carries the entire series. The supporting cast also leaves a strong impression. Bo Bragason brings plenty of charm and confidence to Una, while Jeffrey Dean Morgan adds quiet emotional weight whenever he appears. Even when the story shifts away from Annie and Ramona, these performances help keep the world feeling believable. The setting deserves just as much praise as the cast. Ontario's Lake Muskoka becomes far more than a backdrop. The calm water, forests, docks, and peaceful atmosphere give Sterling Point its own identity. The island almost feels like another character, creating a place where the teenagers can step away from their everyday lives and discover different versions of themselves. The natural beauty constantly reinforces the feeling that this summer exists outside normal life, where personal change becomes possible. That said, the series is not without flaws. The tone occasionally shifts too suddenly, moving from lighthearted summer moments to emotionally heavy family revelations with very little transition. Some supporting storylines, particularly Connor's, never receive the same attention as Annie and Ramona's journey. There are also moments when misunderstandings are resolved a little too conveniently, reducing the emotional impact that earlier scenes work so hard to build. The dialogue generally sounds natural, especially for younger characters, although there are occasional conversations that feel slightly out of step with how teenagers actually speak today. These moments are relatively minor, but they do stand out in a series that otherwise feels grounded and authentic. In the end, Sterling Point succeeds because it understands that growing up is rarely defined by one life-changing event. Instead, it happens through countless small moments, difficult conversations, unexpected friendships, and discovering that family is sometimes found in the people who enter your life when you least expect them. While it may not completely reinvent the coming-of-age genre, it tells its story with enough warmth, sincerity, and emotional honesty to make familiar ideas feel fresh again. If you enjoy character-driven dramas with beautiful locations, heartfelt performances, gentle mystery, and emotional relationships that take time to grow, Sterling Point is well worth watching. It is imperfect at times, but its strongest moments linger long after the final episode, making it one of the more rewarding late summer dramas available on Prime Video.